Ladies and gentlemen, we will talk about music, about classical music performed at the highest possible level with very unique set of instruments. Our guests today are Mr. Jaroslaw Golembiowski.
Witam serdecznie Państwa.
You know Jaroslaw very well. He's I can say, the best Polish composer here in Chicago, perhaps even in America.
I don't know. I would love to be that. I would like to be that one.
In that category. And Mr. Philip Simmons, who's a wonderful conductor.
Thank you.
He's a music director of Lincolnwood Chamber Orchestra and also artistic director of American music festivals.
That's correct.
Thank you so much. Thank you for finding time and being here. I know this is a very important moment because tonight you will conduct a very unique, very special concert. What it's going to be?
That's right. We're doing a collaboration with Violins of Hope. And these are instruments from World War II that have been preserved. It's a wonderful message of resilience and of hope for the future. And we're very fortunate that through our collaboration with the Jewish Community Center here in Chicago, to have 4 of these violins that are playable, and the musicians in our orchestra will be performing on them, as well as some very rare instruments that are not playable that will be on display.
And we want to underscore that those violins were taken by Jewish prisoners to the concentration camps all over Europe. And in so many cases, they were the reasons why the Rodners, the musicians, were able to survive Holocaust. Is that really the case?
That's true. Some of the musicians did survive, but some perished. And particularly very famous and important composers were also murdered. And we'll be performing some of their music to remember.
They carry, as you said, a fantastic message of hope, message of resilience that is so important, not just for the Jewish community as a whole, but I think for the entire world, especially right now, torn with so many conflicts.
Absolutely. And each instrument has its own unique story. And there will be some representatives from the Jewish Community Center who will speak. It's very personal stories that people can connect with.
Let's talk about the program. What's going to be performed?
It's a very interesting program because we're going to perform both music of American composers and Jewish composers. There is some overlap as well. And some of this music is by living composers, and then, of course, the composers who perished. And one of those living composers is, of course, Maestro Golembiowski.
Panie Jarosławie, what exactly will be performed? I think it's a best honor that the living composer can imagine that his piece will be chosen to perform live by professional musicians with live audience.
What is very special is that special occasion. And since I was born near Auschwitz, and I did have professors who were in concentration camp, and they played in the orchestra and they survived. And then after the war ended, they never touched the violin. They changed their profession. Another important thing for me that connects me is that as a student in Bielsko-Biała, we used to give concerts for the survivors. And in Oświęcim, they built a beautiful hall and a recital hall. And every single year, musicians would gather and give the honors to the survivors. So I'm very happy to present that Philip Simmons is going to present the 3rd part of my violin concerto, which is really called Epitaph. And in the 1st part, which is also very slow part, not as usual concertos where the 1st part is fast. So mine is slow, fast, and slow. The 1st one is very meditative. The 2nd part is full of hope and joy. And then 3rd part, I'm using minor scale that is very close to the Jewish melodies, and people who are going to hear that will understand the form. It starts like a real cry and sorrowful meditation and a prayer. And usually we finish with the bells ringing in the distant which is very warm feeling, and it is epitaph to survive to people who perished during these terrible times.
That is a very fitting piece for this
Yes.
concert, I must say. When and where will this concert take?
Concert will be tonight, which is
Wednesday afternoon.
which is actually September 11th, which added another layer of remembrance to our program. You know, I was thinking that almost all of us today remember what happened on September 11th, but there are very few people around who can remember what happened in World War II, who lived through it. So we're just trying to keep the idea alive of perseverance and carrying on.
What musicians will be performing? It's going to be done by the
Lincolnwood Chamber Orchestra, and it's at the Lincolnwood Public Library. It's a rather small and intimate venue, so we'll have our small 12-piece string ensemble.
Wonderful. Awesome. Let's shift gears a little, if I may. And let's talk about you, Maestro. You have a wonderful resume. But I want to start from the beginning. How does it happen? Did you dream about becoming a conductor, or did it happen by accident?
There were some very prominent women in my life who were inspired by conductors. My mother, for example, and she made many opportunities available to me to study and to take music seriously. But then when I was in college, I was studying composition actually at the time, and I decided that conducting was what I wanted to do. And it was really about developing the relationships with other conductors, the mentorship, and traveling around the world to learn about different styles of conducting.
Yeah, so you grew up in a musical family.
I wouldn't say it was a musical family, but it was certainly a family that respected music and enjoyed it, yes.
Your instrument of choice is what? A guitar?
The classical guitar, right.
That's unusual for
It was, but when I was younger, I went through the rock and roll phase.
You did?
Sure. And that's really an important part of what we do as presenters. We need to reach out to younger people. We need to reach out to new audiences. And we're always quick to combine disciplines and seek out new genres that connect with people.
Yeah, that path that you took you to St. Petersburg of all places. And I'm not talking about Florida. I'm talking about Europe. I'm talking about Russia.
Well, this was the late 1990s, which was a period of great optimism about democracy and capitalism. And there were many opportunities there, particularly to study. And I had the opportunity to work with professors from the St. Petersburg Conservatory. And really in Russia is where I learned how to be a conductor. And, the style of conductor through Musin and Timurkhanov and maestros like that, that I've tried to emulate.
Yeah, that was times where the wind of change was blowing extremely strong, right?
There was great optimism, but then it changed rather quickly.
Yeah.
But we continued on to many other countries in Eastern Europe through American music festivals, primarily Czech Republic and Bulgaria. And I've had an opportunity to conduct many different places in the world.
Is the education different in the Soviet Union? We tend to think so that the Eastern European musicians are trained in a little different way. When I talk to educators here, they say that the approach is different, that the style of schooling, of training musicians and conductors is different. Is that the case?
I think it's more serious, and it's from an earlier age that it's serious, and the opportunities to attend concerts, there's more of that for younger people. I'm not really sure what it's like today, but when I was there, definitely. And the average person knew a little bit more maybe about classical music, was a little more informed and more receptive.
I think you're an expert in Slavic music. Since you performed, you conducted in those countries, probably a good chunk of the repertoire was Slavic music. What makes this music different? What makes it unique?
Well, actually, what we did was we contrasted American music with the Slavic music. Awesome. It was always an opportunity to bring something new. And we didn't want to challenge the orchestra too much, because even the very fine orchestras, they want to play in their comfort levels, So we gave them some very interesting music to play. And we premiered like Ives' Second Symphony there and a lot of other really outstanding American music. But I think the Slavic music, the meaning of it is more immediate. You understand the emotion very quickly. They wear their heart on their sleeve, particularly the romantic composers. So it's very accessible music. People enjoy it and understand it immediately. So I really enjoy Slavic music.
Yeah, they draw a lot from folk motifs, right, from the dances, and I think that the language has a lot to do with it.
The language is really important, the accents and how
Yes.
the
The way
it
people
falls.
communicate, it translates into music extremely well. You conduct all types of ensembles, and you also have some experience with theatrical conducting. What do you like the most? Big ensembles, huge orchestras with 70 plus musicians, or these smaller groups, or big stages?
You know, I'm a very practical person. And whatever size orchestra it is that we can assemble, that we can put together, that's what I enjoy doing. But obviously, to work with a full symphony, professional orchestra in their hall where they make a sound, where the same people are sitting next to each other, and you learn so much from that experience, and it just elevates the music and your understanding. So obviously, you know, to work with a full orchestra, and I did have an opportunity to conduct in Minsk, Belarus. It was a West Side Story production, and that was very interesting for me because of the amount of collaboration. I had to go there once before when the auditions were going on with all of the different staff people, and then really be able to collaborate with the choreographer and the stage director. So I really enjoy those types of collaborations, much like what we do together when we're composing something new in a commission. And
Right, we
that
did
opportunity.
quite a bit. We did something for a big orchestra, like a Polonaise for 100th anniversary of the regaining Polish independence. It was in a great St. Adalbert church, the beautiful church. Then we did another Polonaise, I think 2 years ago. It was also for expanded orchestra that is called Sinfonietta Orchestra. So we sometimes if we can find enough sponsors, we can definitely do concert with the big orchestras, and of course it's my dream, right?
Finding enough resources to assemble.
Yes.
We're really lucky here in Chicago. We have a lot of outstanding Polish organizations like Polish National Alliance, like the Copernicus Center, and of course our relationship. And we are trying to build upon those relationships to do more and more exciting programming.
Yes, and we are very fortunate to have people like you who are real life ambassadors of Polish music and promoters of that Polish music. You were recognized by the American Council for Polish Culture. This year, you received the Cultural Achievement Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On that. I hope this will motivate you even further.
And I would like to say that this award is going to be presented to Philip tonight after the performance of my composition, because he could not fly back and forth too many times. So we found the very appropriate concert to celebrate his achievements, or our achievements of collaborative efforts and concerts.
So the question is conductor really needed when you talk about an ensemble of professional musicians? Technically, they know what to do. They could do fifth or ninth Beethovens with their eyes closed, holding instruments upside down. But whenever we hear a performance, there's always conductor's name highlighted, and everyone is different. What makes it special? What makes it unique?
Well, in preparing the piece, you really need a conductor, unless there's going to be like 9-10 rehearsals where all the players can argue it out. How fast should we go? How long should we hold this note? How long should the pause be, right? How much of a diminuendo should we make? So the conductor comes to the rehearsal with these ideas already, and it's really the conductor's job to very politely invite the players, almost to have the players think it's their own idea in many cases. But, you know, we're dealing with music from different cultures, maybe that musicians don't know, and contemporary music that has contemporary styles. And it really requires a viewpoint.
Right.
So that's what the conductor provides, is a viewpoint.
I think you have to be master communicators to get so many people on the same page, to be able to translate your thoughts into words, make them understand everything. You have to be a psychologist.
You have to be a psychologist, yes.
Yeah.
Well, if you work with the same people, same musicians, then it's easier because we understand each other. So that's why working with Philip, not every single time with a different conductor, we understand each other. We know how to prepare ourselves, how to prepare every single page. We discuss, you cannot turn the page here. Violin cannot turn to the page here. The cello has to wait again. So we sometimes we argue about this. Can we do it? Can they do it here?
Is it possible to be done, right?
Right, if it's possible, right. So that's just the very technical aspect, and then on top of that, there is artistic view, how my vision of my composition should be presented.
One of the things that's very interesting about your music is how you challenge performers, and we really try to get a balance with just challenging them enough. And I think that you've been very successful at that in our collaborations.
Which is very hard, yes, because I have to think constantly about that. Not constantly. I usually write the way I want, and then everybody is saying, "Well, calm down. you have to do it different way."
You show the score to somebody else.
Right.
Out of your mind, this is impossible.
Right. Well, soon we are going to talk about Fidelio and Beethoven, and there's the same story. He wrote such a difficult parts in operas. I mean, every composer, I'm just giving this as example, every composer is doing the same thing. And every performer is always complaining, it's too difficult, it's impossible to play.
Mr. Simmons, how do you prepare? If you see a new piece of music, how much time do you have to spend? Those scores that you have on your pulpit are extremely intimidating for a layman. How do you...
I'd say I like to live with a new piece of music for a couple of months, really, before I would attempt to stand in front of an orchestra with it, because you want to run through certain ideas in your mind and see what fits or what might work. And then there's also the physical memorization of what you're going to do on the podium. And with our orchestra, we only have limited rehearsal time. So much of it is geared towards, well, how much can we expect to accomplish in a 2.5-hour rehearsal and then achieve in the concert? So again, a lot of it is very practical, the decisions that I make in terms of what we play and how we prepare it.
And you look at the sheets of the score, and does it sink to you? Do you hear the instruments in your mind when you read it for the first, second time?
I might, but I might also be looking for motives, little kernels of music that are then developed, little thematic material. I look at harmony, I think, in terms of harmony as well, and of course color. So I apply general music theory to the score, but really it's about how I feel about the piece. And what would be interesting about this piece, what would be interesting to the audience really about it. I try to start with that idea.
Do you conduct with the score or without the score?
Generally with the score, but like there are several pieces on the concert that I could easily conduct without the score. Depends if you've done them before. I'm confident about that.
Final question. What do you think is the future of classical music? People say that it's more and more difficult to engage with the younger audiences who have shorter attention spans, who want something light, easy to absorb, easy to consume. Classical music is almost nothing like that.
Well, we spend a lot of time thinking about this, and part of our organization's mission, in addition to promoting cultural exchange, is to preserve orchestral heritage. And how we like to do that is we want people to remember what the orchestral experience is. And for some people, they think maybe it's a little bit stuffy. So we try to soften that a little bit. But I think really the future is embracing the technology and also creating more interdisciplinary programming, where half the concert is pop music, say, and then something interesting, historically relevant in classical music is presented. And then we have to talk about that and explain why it's relevant, why people should care about it. And also to perform music of living composers, contemporary music as well, and to try to juxtapose that as well with the masters and see where those traditions come from and where they're leading to. That's the future, I think.
But I think we're in good hands. Classical music is definitely not going away. It's gonna be present. It's gonna remain.
Thank you so much.
All that because of your work, gentlemen, both of you.
That's true. That's true. Because I'm a teacher, so I really enjoy to introduce classical music to students, and hope that they will continue to play and actually enjoy different styles and composers, and they eventually will become composers too, or at least keep trying.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank
you
you
for your time. Thank you for all the work that you do. Jaroslaw Golembiowski, composer, and Philip Simmons, conductor. Wonderful musicians were our guests tonight. On Wednesday, on September 11th, there will be a Violins of Hope concert at the Lincolnwood Library. You will not be able to see that concert if you didn't know about it. It's already too late, but I bet it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful event, wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.